Two junk journals in two totally different styles, created simultaneously. Welcome to another episode of this series here on my channel, in which I want to show you that you can transfer any inspiration to your own papercraft project, a junk journal or another papercraft project, in your very own unique style. In today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about repetition and what that can do for a cohesive look for your junk journal. I want to discuss some questions. For example, can repetition make a junk journal boring? And what do I have to do to avoid that? How can I use repetition to make my journal interesting, cohesive, and really pleasing for the eye? In the meantime, since you have seen the last video, I have done some homework. I will talk about that in a second. But if this is the first video that you are watching, and if you want to craft along with me, if you want to perhaps make a junk journal with, let's say, a guide, then you can check out my playlist that is linked down below, where I have put in all of the videos that belong to this series. So if you want to follow that step by step, please check out the playlist and watch the videos in the order that they are in the playlist, so that it is easier for you to understand what we are doing here. As always, I have the clean journal here on the left side with this color palette, and the grungy journal on the right side with this color palette. And without you, I have done some homework by adding some lace to my journals, and I've also glued or sewn down the things that were loose that we have decided to put as pockets and tuck spots and that stuff into the journal. So there were some things where I thought I can do that without you, because I don't want to kill your nerves by sewing and making noises with my machine. So I will quickly go through this here, and let me first show you the lace. Let me first show you the lace. Because that's, I guess, something that is really, let's say, hard to decide for me how to do it, because I really enjoy sewing lace to the edges of my pages, but this step is something that you have to visualize a little bit, because when it's here, you can't remove it. Yeah, lace is something, when you have sewn or glued it down, it's there and you can't remove it. And this, especially for the clean journal, made some really strange thoughts in my head, because I knew that I wanted to have a really light color of lace. In this case, as you can see, it's white, and it's only white. But when I started sewing this to the pages, I thought, when we have the journal finished, and when this kills my nerves. This page is coming out here. I'm so sorry. When this is in the cover and you look to the journal from this perspective, then you would see a lot of white here. And I thought perhaps that could be a little bit boring. So I thought only for a minute about adding some sprays in those colors that we have on the color palette to the lace. I often do that when I have lace and I put that to the pages. Then I later on decide if I want to color that or not. It can also happen for example, for a grungy journal, that I take some coffee and take the whole page thing here and put that into the coffee like this, and let the coffee do what it wants on the lace. I mean, that would be a possibility with ink, of course, as well. But when I thought about doing that, I was like, oh my goodness, I think I could destroy this clean style by with doing that. Because since we have made those mixed media pages and those, things that are popping out, for example, something like this, that is really like bam when you flip through the journal, I thought, especially with this page, some of those mixed media pages are a little bit like they have an own mind and they want to walk into this more grungy side of the project. Do you know what I mean? I think that was not a good sentence, but I think you know what I mean. This is really, you know, it comes up here a little bit. I mean, I like that because we have this drop shadow here. It makes it really textured. You can feel something. You have many different things that your eye can explore on such a page. But when you look at it from here, you can see the paper isn't flat anymore. It's a little bit like, yeah, junk journalish. I still want to have this, that it is a junk journal, yeah, but this is already on the edge of clean. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's a line. Here is clean and there's grungy, and this journal seems to want to walk over this line. I don't know how to say that, but that's the reason why I left this lace white. Yeah. For example, also here on this page, I have put some crazing medium on top of this. You have seen that in the last video, and when that dried, it crumbled this paper doily a little bit. In the meantime, I'm okay with that. Originally, I thought I don't like it because it's not round anymore. I don't know, it was a little bit strange, but with a little bit of distance and looking back at this, I really like this and I want to leave it like this. But this is something that could turn into something grungy, even if we have really light and calm colors in this journal. And that's the reason why I left the lace white. And then I just took some of the ephemera pieces that I have in my digital collection that I'm using during this series. That's called Steamy Floral Smoke. I will link everything down below for you. So this is part of the ephemera pack, this little pocket, and I've also taken some other things and I've just sewn or glued that down so that we have the possibility to put something inside later. And I've also decided this, for example, we have put with paper clips to the page because we've decided that we want to have that here. And then I have decided if I want to put something behind, like a little collage or something, or if I just want to glue or sew it down. And that's all what I have done in the meantime. So if you are interested in this paper collection, you can find that linked below. As I said, there are some junk journal pages available, and also, I will take this out because I want to talk about that in a second. There are junk journal pages available and journal backgrounds. I only have used the pages here because I wanted to use the back side of the papers to show you some different things. But of course, you can also take the junk journal pages, print them to one side, and then take the journal backgrounds and print them to the other side of your papers so that these don't stay white. And there's also an ephemera pack available. I will show you that in a second a little bit more in detail. You can find everything linked down below this video. And what I also want to mention is, and that's the reason why I have taken out this page, there is something about junk journaling that is sometimes perhaps feeling a little bit weird, especially when you are a beginner. I make this because I don't like the word beginner. You have known, you know that when you know my channel. But when you have started with junk journaling and you think, okay, I have followed a tutorial to make a tuck spot here, for example, this is a tuck spot. And I have put some mediums here on top, like this white gesso. And then I think the page is finished. This was a page where I thought I'm 100% sure that this page is finished. And then with a little distance and coming back to the project, I realized that I wanted to have this sewing here. So this wasn't here when you've seen this the last time, but I've decided that I want to have this here. That has some reasons. One of the reasons is that this black matches this black of the stamping here really well, and this that makes it, in my eyes, more harmonious. But what I'm trying to say is it can happen in your process that you see things where you think that is finished. And after a while, you come back and you think, okay, I want to have this here. And when you think I want to have this here, and you want to sew over that, or you want to draw something, or doodle, or whatever, or glue lace, or fabric, or whatever, then please do that. No matter what you had in mind before, yeah? I mean, I have decided for this clean and grungy style for my journals for this series, but that doesn't mean that you can't change your mind during your process. I think finding your own style and thinking about your own style and what you like for your journals, that can change so fast, and it's good that it changes, because that way you can become one with your process and with your journal and with your project. Yeah, junk journaling has so much to do with emotions. So please don't limit yourself by thinking, I have to find my style and I want this style and I have to do that all the time. Yeah. Your style is now. That's a quote by Tim Holtz, and I think that is really, really helpful, especially for junk journaling, because with that in mind, your style is now. You don't stress yourself so much. What I have also done for the clean journal is I have taken the Steamy Floral Smoke Ephemera pack. I've printed that out. Some of the elements that come with that set I have left like they are. This is 110 GSM paper, it's photo paper, and I have left those for some reasons that we will talk about in this video. And some of those things I have backed with some scrapbooking paper, for example the tags and the journaling cards. For the clean journal I have left a little frame. As you can see, we have this patterned paper here, and I thought that looks really nice in combination with this printable. In this case we have some of those things that are white on the back. I really like that, especially for the color palette for this journal. I think white for this clean journal is really, really good. And we also have, of course, the possibility to create something on the back. If we want to do that later, we can use this as journaling space. On some of the tags, I have also taken some patterned paper for the back. I've chosen some that matches the colors, but that has also relatively much white. I think in the camera, those leaves look a little bit like black, but they aren't black. They are a mixture of really dark brown and really light black. I would say in the camera it looks like all was black, but it's really dark brown, and that matches really well these roses here. Yeah, that's that. As I said, for the clean journal I have left those frames because I thought that is really nice. If you don't have a sewing machine and you want to back your things with, for example, scrapbooking paper, you could, of course, also glue that down completely with a really strong glue and then just draw a faux stitching, for example, or you could also take some stamps that imitate this sewing. That's also a possibility, of course. I've also assembled this envelope that comes with the ephemera pack. So that's that for the clean journal. And for the grungy journal, something happened with the lace that I nearly can't believe. So as you can see here, I have added some colored lace that I had dyed with some inks the other day, or actually it's relatively long ago that I have done that. I have also put some white lace here because I wanted to see how it looks when a grungy journal has those white elements that originally came from here. I mean, the clean journal has the white elements, yeah, but I wanted to have something like a mixture, and I wanted to try out how it looks when we have some white lace in between of this dyed lace that has the color. The order of the pages is, of course, not, it's not the end of the day here, yeah? We will change that up later a little bit when we assemble the signatures. But the story behind this lace is really crazy. a relatively long time ago, I had a lace and fabric dyeing session where I used the leftover from the ink that I had on my table for dyeing this lace. So I've just taken the whole bunch of lace and I've like cleaned my surface with the lace because I didn't want to waste the ink. And when I have dried that, I thought, oh, whoa, those colors, it's so crazy. It's like so wild. And since that day, this lace was in my stash and I thought I can never use it because those colors are really totally strange. But now it fits perfectly. It fits just perfectly. I just want to search a page from my printable, for example, this one here, where much of this bluish, grayish blue is. And as you can see, this fits perfectly now. It's just crazy. This is nearly the same color like this dark area of the printable where this bluish gray is, or grayish blue. How do you want to say that? And this is forest moss mixed with something else. I can't tell you what the blue is because I can't remember that. I know that I have used ground espresso and forest moss, but I don't know what this is. Perhaps it's also like a mixture, and because of this oxide reaction of the spray that I have used, perhaps we have gotten this new color. I'm not totally sure, so I'm sorry that I can't tell you the exact colors of this that I have used there. But what I'm trying to say is, when you have some lace and you know I want to dye that with sprays or for example ink pads or acrylic paint or watercolor or whatever you use for dyeing your lace, then please try something. Try to take more than one piece of lace and more than one color and dye different colors and try different variations. Yeah, when I dye my lace and my fabric, I really do it like a mass making thing, because when you have your journal and you want to add some lace and you see your colors and you think, okay, we have some yellow, there's some brown, there's some green. I know I have used forest moss. I know I have used ground espresso. You know exactly the colors that you have used for making the paper. Yeah. And then when you then want to try to get the same color to your lace, that's nearly impossible. For me, it's nearly impossible because that comes out always a little bit different than on paper, of course, because this is not paper, it's lace or fabric or whatever you use. So I like to have really much lace on my table or fabric or whatever, and then I'm putting different colors to that so that I have a lot of variation in the end when everything is dry, and I put that back into my stash for the day that I'm sure will come where I can use that. Of course, this was like a little bit coincidence that this matches so well, especially here with this crazy color that we got here. I really like this contrast here. And as you can see here, it's not about having the same colors. Do you know what I mean? We have this brownish, like nearly purplish color here. And this color from the paper isn't existing here. Yeah, but it matches. And because of the fact that we have this yellowish green on the other pages as well, we have this cohesive look. When you want to color your lace, I think it's not so important to look for exactly the same color that you have on your pages, but you want to have a color that matches. Yeah, when we look here, this purple, this green, and this, especially with the gold here on the paper, and this is just harmonious. Can you see that? Even if it's not the same color, or it's not only one color, even if those colors are not exactly the same. Yeah, it can also happen that you find a lace that has a totally different color than your color palette is. Yeah, I mean, when I take this and I take the color palette and I put that here next to each other, I can see it matches. When I hold it like this, I can see it matches perfectly. Even if we can see here colors that we don't have here. This light, like beige purple, isn't existing here, but the whole thing matches this. If I hold it like this and we see the wild honey as well, it seems that this color is a little bit strange here in the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't fit in here. But when I, for example, hold it like this and we have a page where the wild honey is, suddenly it goes together really, really well. And it's, I think, about the whole thing that you see when you flip through a journal and where you get your emotion to the journal from. Yeah, it's not a single page, it's not a single embellishment, but it's the whole thing. So yeah, that's that. And for the grungy journal, I have also printed out the ephemera pack from the Steamy Floral Smoke collection. And here I have done that a little bit differently because I wanted to have here, of course, this grungy effect and this grungy look. So I have also left some of those on the normal paper and some are backed with scrapbooking paper. But the main difference is, I mean, that's not a difference. Oh my goodness, Louisa. Leaving some of those things on the paper is exactly the same what I have done for the clean journal. But the difference is that I have distressed the edges here relatively intensive, as you can see, with some ground espresso ink. And for those tags and cards and that stuff, I have also taken some scrapbooking paper, here in this case in another color. I have chosen this color because that matches also this grayish blue, bluish gray that we have in the printable. Here it's not so much, but I think you can see that it's exactly the same color. And this is also scrapbooking paper, but here I haven't left this frame. Yeah, I wanted to have like a difference and also something that you can decide for your own journals. So let me perhaps take a tag that is in the same size from the clean journal. So if you want to compare that, I think it's a totally different look. With the frame here on the left side from the scrapbooking paper, the tag gets, of course, a little bit different proportions than this. This stays in the original size that it comes in the printable. This gets a little bit bigger, of course, but proportionally, yeah, because the frame is the same all around. But I think with not distressing and having the frame, and distressing and without the frame, you can reach a really different look. And I wanted to show you that with doing it like I have done it here. So we have those here. And I've also played around with the settings of my printer a little bit to get a more intensive and grungy look for this ephemera, and a more clean and brighter look for the ephemera for the clean journal. And especially here on those bigger tags, you can see that I have printed that out a little bit differently. This turned out way more yellowish than the original printable is, so that it matches the color palette better. And that's also something that you can have in mind if you make your junk journals with using digital paper. You can, of course, play around with your printer settings to get a different look. Sometimes you can, of course, overdo that. I don't know if that is the right English word. If you get, for example, a really neon yellow, yeah, when the paper comes out of your printer and you see a really weird color like neon yellow, for example, then you know something has gone wrong and you have done something like too much with your printer settings. But a tiny little variation of the settings can help to create a really different look. And that's, of course, also a good thing about digital paper. When you have that and you want to make several journals and use the same paper collection, you can change the look by changing the settings of your printer. And of course, by varying this method with the backing with the paper, frame or not frame, you can vary it with the distressing so that you can get a different look and so on. Yeah, meaning you can take the same paper collection and change that up for your own needs and for your own style that you want to reach with the journal. Also with the envelopes, I have done that. Perhaps here it's really obvious and really good to compare. So on the left side for the clean envelope, so these come with the ephemera pack as well, I have distressed that really lightly compared to this one where I have put way more ink. And also from here you can see that this is, I mean, these are the same envelopes, yeah, but this is a different printer setting than this is, and you get a totally different look. They would also go well together in one journal, by the way, but as I said, you can reach a really, really different look by just playing around with your settings of the printer a little bit. And for the inside, I have left this white, I mean clean journal white, you know. And here I have just stenciled with this really beautiful stencil by Tim Holtz. And I've done it by adding a little bit of ink first so that we have this brown background. And then I have taken a darker brown that was ground espresso as well. And I have stenciled over this to get this like a little bit more interesting and grungy in the inside. Okay, so that's that. So next, I want to add some embellishments to my journals in the theme that I have chosen for them. So that's going to be butterflies. And I want to use the ephemera pack for that and some other materials from my stash. I want to talk about how to find things that you can use for the theme for your journal if you have a theme. And I also want to talk about repetition. We have already used repetition during the process that we have done. We have used, for example, the same stencils throughout the journal. We have used the same colors. We have used the same lace and so on, the same digital paper. So that is already repetition. What happens if we use more of the same colors, the same materials for the embellishments that we want to add to the journal now and for the ephemera that we want to add to the journal? I want to discuss what repetition can do for the style for your journal and how you can use it to make your journal cohesive but not boring, because repetition can also become boring in my eyes. So let's do that. And I thought really, really long about this video and especially this part of the video, how to do that and how to show it to you, because there are, as always, so many different possibilities how to create embellishments and ephemera for your journal. And I think everyone is doing it a little bit differently, and I do it differently with every journal that I make, because yeah, that's part of the creative process, I guess, that you sometimes perhaps make a bunch of ephemera or a bunch of embellishments at the same time. Sometimes you do it step by step and one after the other. I think there's no general rule for that, how to do that. But with thinking about how to do this video, how to show it to you, how to use repetition, how to include that in an interesting way, I came to a really cool idea. And I want to try that out together with you, because to be honest, I haven't done that before in the way I will do it in this video. So let's try that out. I thought, what if we take some scraps for making like a collage cluster thingy? So I have taken out some scraps for the clean color palette. I've just went through my stash, and as you can see, here is everything. Perhaps this also looks to some people like it has to go into the trash can, but this is really like gold. And for the grungy journal, I have done exactly the same thing. These are just some leftovers, some scraps. So let me show you what this is exactly and what you could look for in your own stash. So we have some packaging paper here. For example, this is embossed with an embossing folder. I have some braille paper here, some book pages. Some of them already have some color that doesn't fit to the color palette, but we can manage that, of course. These are just some pieces of an envelope that was made out of vellum. Some of this here really strange material. I don't have the English name for that. I even don't know how this is called in German. So this I got in an Happy Mail. It has these really cool fibers peeking out here. I also have some leftovers from die cutting. As you can see, this is just the negative of the die cut. The same with this one. This is left over from FUSSY. I have just cut out this leaf from a postcard. You can use everything that you have. What I also have included here is the scrapbooking paper that I have used for backing the tags and the cards. As you can see, this is the same paper here on the back. And with cutting these, I get some leftovers, of course, and I want to use these because, yeah, they match, yeah, with this. The same here on the right side for the grungy journal. I have just taken out what I thought could fit the color palette. If you want to choose this, it's really helpful to take your color palettes with you to the box or shelf or drawer or wherever you store your scraps, because it was really helpful to have this and take something, for example, let's say this here, and put it here like this to see if it matches, because here I don't want to have colors that are not in the color palette here. Otherwise that could look a little bit strange in the end. So when we have that, I thought we could do the following thing. Let's start with the clean journal. I thought, what if we took a piece of this? You can do it like you want it, of course. Perhaps a piece of this. And let's put something bigger behind that. For example, a piece of this book page. And create a little collagey, clustery thingy out of that. When we have this and we think, okay, this looks really nice. This could be a nice background for my focal point, in this case for a butterfly, because I want to have my journals butterfly themed. That can be any other focal point, of course, any other theme as well. When I like this, I take that and I put that here to my table. The same thing I'm going to do here on the other side. I'm taking this, for example, and let's take a piece of this scrapbooking paper, and let's perhaps also put a book page to the back. That could look great. I mean, this is very unspectacular now, yeah, but you could think, okay, something is interesting about this. Let's do some more, one here and one here. Perhaps we can take this so that we have a little bit of texture here. And let's say we take a piece of this, put that on top here. And what else could we add here? Let's take a piece of this die cut thing. Which part looks interesting? Perhaps this, but it really doesn't matter that you think about what looks interesting now, because that will change up a little bit later. So perhaps we can make something on the grungy side of this project that has the same I don't know the word. This paper is textured, so let's see if we have something textured on the grungy side as well. So perhaps, For example, I don't have the same paper here on the other side, but let's take this. This is textured as well. This is packaging paper, and it has a little bit, yeah, like texture as well. So perhaps we can take this packaging paper and make our own texture, just like this. And we have this piece of the die cut left over. I have some of those here as well, but in black. So let's do it, for example, like this. And then I thought, what if we now remember this as a reference for the steps that we are going to do next? Meaning, I'm taking my phone and I'm taking a photo of this, just to remember what we have here. That doesn't have to be nice. I mean, the photo doesn't have to be nice, but we want to have that as a reference. If you don't have the possibility to take a photo, then of course you could take this, put that to the side of your table to see it and to have it as a reference. But with taking the photo, I mean, that's, for me, that's better, because then I can use this, what I have here, and I will not have this left over in the end. So I am placing my phone there so that I can see that. And now I'm going to do the following thing. I am taking the book pages like this. Here we have the vellum, this postcard thingy, and I'm just putting them here like this. The same with those scraps from the grungy journal, like this. And now I'm searching for things that are the same, meaning I'm taking this, for example, because I have it here, and I'm just tearing different pieces out of the same paper. And I'm making myself a little like stash of the same paper. For example, here, this paper, I have some more of this here. And of course, if you want to do it exactly like I'm doing it here, you have to make sure that you have more than one scrap of the same material, of the same paper, yeah? Because we want to have the same look and we want to work with repetition. And that means that you need a little bit more than one of each of those. Do you know what I mean? So that isn't necessarily important. That's not a sentence. My goodness. That is not a sentence, Louise. You can also take slightly different things, but it's really helpful to have the same things. Yeah, for example, this here, I only have those tiny pieces, and it's not much. This was only a postcard. So, yeah, I'm trying to get some scraps out of this, but if I don't have enough for what I want to do, please don't freak out. You could also add other postcards. It doesn't have to be exactly this one. You could also add papers that have a similar color palette, a similar texture or pattern or whatever. But you want to make sure that you have nearly the same things on each of those. You know what I mean? So I have some problems here because I have already done that for the German video, and because of that my things here are already torn into scraps. Yeah, originally everything was a little bit bigger, but I have demonstrated this method in my German video already. That's the reason why I already have those scraps, but originally that were bigger pieces, but that really doesn't matter. I think you can imagine that I have just torn that up. So when we have that, as you can see, I've just made some space to work on. I'm going to take one of each of those papers. We have a book page on the grungy and the clean side. So I'm taking 2 pieces of my book pages, but only one from the others here, like this. Ooh. And I'm putting them relatively close to each other. That has a reason. And then I think about, what have I already done in the journal that brought me fun? For me, that is definitely stenciling. So I want to add some stenciling to those scraps here as well. For the other stenciling, we have chosen like those floral stencils that were really, some of them were really concrete, I would say. For this, I want to choose a really delicate stencil that is more abstract, because I want to have some interesting things here that are not too concrete. I have chosen this stencil here. As you can see, this is relatively small and it is like a little bit regular. The number is THS006. This stencil is by Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. And I'm just placing this here randomly. I'm going to take my frayed burlap distress oxide ink, because we have this color in both of the color palettes. You can of course choose what you have on your color palette that you have chosen for your journal. And then I'm just going to stencil through this to bring some interest to those scraps. What would Barbara say now? So when we have that, I will do the following thing. I will take this and put that back here where it was originally. I put this, put it back here, and so on with all of the other things as well. I'm putting them back here. Actually, I will do it a little bit differently than I just said. I will put them next to those, because I will need those that are empty in the next seconds. But I want to keep some kind of an order here on my desk. So now I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm taking the empty ones from the different kinds of papers. Remember that I need 2 book pages, one for the grungy thing and one for the clean thing. Just like this. And then I do exactly the same thing, but not with a stencil, but with something else. So let's think about what else have we already done in the journal, or actually on the pages, because we have no journals yet, that was fun and that we liked. And a second thing for me is stamping. So I'm taking out a stamp of my choice. This is the Bubbles stamp by Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. The number is CMS 449. I'm taking this because this is not only a really gorgeous stamp, but this stamp is so versatile. I am so in love with this. It's really big so that I can cover much of my scraps at the same time. And this is often used, I mean, when you look at social media, for example, and you find projects that are made with this stamp, you will often find those ocean-themed projects, and yeah, this is often stamped in blue, and you know, I don't know why, but this reminds to ocean or something. But this stamp is really gorgeous when you need a background. And by the way, this is also fantastic for stamping and then embossing with especially golden embossing powder. I have done that in several different projects and it turned out so great. So let's take this and stamp on those scraps. So let's think about the colors. I don't want to use frayed burlap again because I want to have a variation on my scraps and not always the same color. So let's look at the color palette and let's choose something. I think we could use Hickory Smoke for the clean journal, because some of those scraps that we have here are really light, and Pumice Stone and Lost Shadow are relatively light as well. So I assume that they come out not so visible on the scraps that are lighter. So I think I will take Hickory Smoke for the clean journal, and let's try some forest moss perhaps for the grungy journal, so that we get some more interest, especially on this yellow paper. I think that looks really, really good. And now, if you want to make something in different color palettes, you have to, of course, divide this a little bit so that you know where to stamp which color. So this is, I'm just looking to my photo there to see what I need where. So I think we had it like this, this, and this, and this, and this, and here's something missing. Something's missing here. I missed taking this. So now I have it. So this is the clean side. There I'm going to use the Hickory Smoke. So by the way, this is the oxide ink. Then I'm just going to stamp here relatively randomly. Ooh, sticking a little bit. Come off, please. Just like this. And I will do that, the same thing here. And since this paper is relatively strange, I have experienced that in the German video that I have already recorded. I'm just going to mist my stamp with a little bit of water to make sure that we get a nice impression here. That gives you, of course, also another variation. Yeah, I'm expecting a more loose stamp impression here now than we got here. Yeah, that turned out really good. Ooh, look at this. This, ooh, look. This looks cool. Ah, wonderful. Just wonderful. Yeah, okay, so let's do the same thing here, but with forest moss. Make sure that your stamp is completely dry and clean, of course, but especially dry before you use the next color, so that you don't ruin your ink pad. And I think I want to spritz some water here as well. This is packaging paper as well, and this is some photo paper, so perhaps we can get a better impression with this watercolory look. And of course, if you have a theme for your journal, you could also stamp with stamps that have that theme. I could, of course, also stamp with butterflies here, since I have chosen that as a theme for the journals. But I don't want to do that here, because I have already many stamps with butterflies for the backgrounds on my pages, and I don't want to overload that by also stamping with butterflies. And I'm also planning to put butterflies as a focal point on top of the finished thing here, what I'm doing here today. And that would be too much for me when I now would stamp with butterflies here as well. And since we are layering those pieces on top of each other later, we wouldn't see a whole butterfly in the end. That could look a little bit strange with such a more abstract pattern like this, you can get, you can have an easier job. Yeah, it's really difficult to have butterfly wings here and then layer the pieces on top of each other without destroying the impression of the stamp. I don't know if that makes sense. So what makes sense is to take these pieces and put them back here. Take these and put them back. Make sure that you don't smear anything. If you have used water here, make sure that you place them somewhere where they can dry without destroying your stamp impression. Okay, so here we go. And then yeah, you can guess it, I will take the same papers again here. When I have more than I need, I can also take, of course, 2 of those. That's also a possibility to have more options later. So I'm doing it with those here as well. And for the next step, I want to add some splatters, because that's something that I'm totally missing in on my pages. I have a lot of different things, but I like splattering, and I have no splatters yet on my pages. What have I done here? Why can't you see anything? Oh my goodness. So, oh no. I think now you can see it. So let's add some white splatters and some black splatters. For the white, I'm using some white gesso that is thinned down with some water. And here I think a little bit about that, because on this paper, for example, you can see the white splatters really well. Here you wouldn't see them, so I'm leaving this out. But of course, please just play around and do what you like. Sometimes it's also good not to think about those things too much. These will turn into some brown, because here on this embossed paper I have some oxide inks. You can see that they are already changing their color. That gives us another cool variation in the end. Just like this. And then let's add some black splatters as well. For that I'm using some black acrylic paint mixed with some water. And I want to have some of those splatters here on the white paper where they show up really well. Also here on this part of the book page. That was a little bit too much. And I also want to splatter some black splatters to the black paper here, because I've experienced that you can't see them so well, but you get a really nice texture when the acrylic paint has dried. So, saying dried, I will quickly take my heat gun and dry these little scraps here. So after I have dried everything, I have put every scrap back to where it was before, and now we can see the following thing. We have the same like repetition that we had before with the colors and patterns and different kinds of papers, but when we look at one kind of paper, for example like this yellow one here, we can see it's still the same paper, but it has different patterns and it has way more interest than it had before. And it's not only with this, of course, but with all of the others as well. They are all different now, even if they are made out of the same base. So now, I thought, let's take back our photo and let's recreate what we have here. So let's start with this one here that we had chosen in the very beginning. Here we had a book page in the back. I think you can't see it really well. My phone makes really crazy reflections. I'm so sorry. So here we have a book page, the vellum, and the piece of this postcard. So let's choose a book page. Let's take, for example, this. Then a piece of vellum. Here we have the white splatters, some of the black splatters. So from the vellum pieces, I'm choosing something that is different to this. Yeah, so I could take either this stenciled piece or the stamped piece, but I would not take this one where also splatters are. So let's see what could match better. I think I want to have this one here. And from the postcard pieces, we can also choose one. So here's the one with the stamping. So I wouldn't choose this one here, but another one. So let's here perhaps take the one with the stenciling. Of course, you could also take one that has nothing that was left over from your, jazzing up the scraps. But I think I want to take this one. So now we have exactly the same thing that we had here. And if we would repeat exactly this with exactly the same papers, we would get totally different results, because the next book page that I would choose would probably not have those white splatters. Yeah, if I take this next and then let's say this and then this, it's the same paper, but it's a totally different look. But it's cohesive and it's repetition. Do you know what I mean? That's the idea behind this whole thing. So shall we perhaps just leave this here? I think I want to leave this here, and I will just zoom a little bit in so that you can see better what I'm doing next. So when I have found something that looks interesting, for example, this, like so, and I think I want to turn this around as well. I don't know why, but I'm just following my emotions. And when you have that, of course, you could say, this is great, I'm gluing that together, I'm sewing over here to attach the pieces to each other, or I'm stapling them, and you would be finished. But you could also now add a little variation by adding something that you haven't had here around you. Yeah, something that is not part of the scraps that you have laying around there. So I'm just going through my scraps that I had chosen for the clean journal that I have shown you before, and choosing something that I have not already here. So for example, what could look good here? For example, this kind of paper, but not in this weird shape. Let's take perhaps this one. So this is one of those scrapbooking paper pieces that I had used to back the tags. And when I then put this in here, for example, like this, I really like how it shows through the vellum. This has changed completely. And let's take some similar thing, not similar, but another thing for here as well. What could we use here? Perhaps, what do I have here what I haven't used yet? That's not so much. But that really doesn't matter. You can also use something that you have already used. I'm just thinking about this. Why not? Why not? Let's take this. Let's put that perhaps like this here. And you can see this is totally different. Imagine here will go a butterfly on top. A different butterfly on each of those. Then it's even more different, even if it's the same material and even if it's repetition. So I'm just taking my stapler now to staple these, because I really like staples in my journals. But as I said, you can also glue that or sew that with your sewing machine. And this looks like this. And here we are going to do exactly the same thing, like this. This I will put aside for a moment. We will need that again later. So let's go to the next one. This combination here we've chosen for the grungy journal. So let's do that. Book page, this yellow page, and this blue paper. So where are my book pages for the grungy part? Here. So that. Then let's choose one of those from this yellow paper. Here is the stamping, so I'm not choosing this, even if it would look okay, yeah, but I want the most possible amount of interest. So let's take this, and since this is relatively big, I will change the original order that I had on my photo. On my photo, the book page was the bottom layer, but I like it better like this. This way you can also add variation by changing the order of the pieces. And here, what about this? Yeah, I think I like that. So let's take that, and let's also add something from our stash that we haven't used before. I have this embossed piece here that I have left over from another video, so perhaps I want to see this torn edge here, so perhaps we could do it like this. What do you think? I think that's great. So let's take that, and I think I want to also add a little bit of black, but only a tiny little piece. I don't know why, but at the moment I think I'm in my black and white stage of life. I don't know why, but it's a fact. So let's do it like this. Ooh, that's hard. Then we have that. We will put that aside for later. And for here, for those both here, I want to do it simultaneously because, ooh, I'm so sorry. We have put that together relatively similar for the clean journal and the grungy journal. So I will now do that next to each other as well, so that you can compare that really, really well. So for the clean journal, the first thing that we had was this white paper here. And then we had the packaging paper with the embossing. So which one shall we use? Perhaps this one with the stamping. Ooh, that looks great. And then we had this brown paper from the die cut. I think here I want to go with this interesting piece. Perhaps like this. And here we had this textured paper that we have just crumbled up. Then we had the piece from this embossed paper here. Ooh, that looks strange. Let's take perhaps this one. And we had the black die cut paper that has those dots as well. So I will not use that here because we have the dots here already. So let's perhaps do it like this. And now we can add two things that are different to what we have here. I think I want to add a piece of this vellum. But how? That's strange. I think I want to have this more delicate area, perhaps like this, and no. Let's do it. I don't like those straight edges that are meeting there, but perhaps like, yeah, like this. So I'm going to staple this somehow so that we have it like this now. And here on the left side, I mean, I would love to add something like this, but I'm just thinking, let me just check something. I will just hold it next to my butterflies that I have chosen to see if the color matches. Yeah, I think that would work. I mean, this color we don't have on the color palette. I mean, look, but it's not like popping out in a negative way, I would say. And when you see the butterflies that I have chosen, you will probably understand way better what I'm just thinking. Perhaps we can layer that below this one so that it's not so massive but visible. Perhaps just like this. Now it's here, but it's not so crazy in the foreground. And now I will put these things a little bit aside so that we can take back our pieces that we've just made. So these three are for the grungy journal, and these are for, no, those are for the clean journal, and these are for the grungy journal. So I have quickly made a third one for the grungy journal so that we have 3 here and 3 there. As you can see, what we have here was only made out of leftovers. Some pieces you could also call trash, I would say, in some craft rooms. Some of those pieces would perhaps go into the trash can. But I want to show you another variation. What you also could do, you can do that now, or you could also include that into the steps that we have already done. You could include here some digital paper as well. And why am I doing that now and not in the steps before? That's an easy answer, because I want to show you that you can do this also without digital paper. Yeah, but what I'm showing you now, you could also do in the steps that we have just done. And that's the reason why I want to include digital paper, and that's the reason why I have left some of the pieces from the ephemera pack on this thinner paper and not back that with scrapbooking paper, because I don't want to have this too stiff. So let me just take this. This is meant to use as a belly band. You could also take it like this and use it as a really weird shaped a page tab, sorry. But you can also take this, tear it apart, and just put that somewhere in here. Oh, that's great. And just staple here again. And that's the reason why I love stapling so much, because this way you have more possibilities to include more scraps now. So perhaps we could, where is the opening here? Perhaps we could add this. That looks weird. Not here. This is a little bit too straight, I would say. Or perhaps even, no. I want to have it here somewhere so that it peeks out here on the top. And of course you could also now include some pieces of, for example, lace, fabric, whatever you like. You can just choose the things and then just put them in here. And as you can see, that is really easy to find places for those additional things. So this is distressed relatively intensively, I would say. You could also take a whole tag, for example, like this, and put that here. But I'm just thinking I wanna have this crazy piece. And when I saw it, I thought this could be great. Ooh. Sometimes when you think it could be great, it isn't great when you see it. I want to see this really extremely oxidation here. I think, yeah, I think now I like it. Just like this. So what I'm trying to say here is you could of course also take pieces of a digital ephemera pack, just like they are, like this tag is. I mean, I haven't torn it, and just include that to your little scrap cluster thingy. So let's perhaps take one of those belly bands and let's leave that as it is. And let's see if we can, ooh, I think that already works really well. Let's see in which direction we can put this here. Yeah, I really like that, you know. Just like this. And what shall we do with this one? I think for this one I want to perhaps take a bigger tag from the ephemera pack. Why not this one? Oh, yeah. Just like this. And now I'm not so happy because we have this whole tag here on the grungy side, but we have no tag here, and I want to compare that so that you can see the difference. So let me just take out, do I have one left? No, I don't have one left that is only the paper, but we can of course use one that has the scrapbooking paper on the back as well. I mean, where's the problem? There isn't a problem. So let's take, let's see what options do we have. We have these three left. The reason is I have used the ones on the paper without the backing for the German video. That's the reason why I only have those three left. But let's see, we can create something beautiful here as well. For example, like this. And shall we perhaps take this one? No. No. We will take a smaller one, like this one, to see how that would look. This is perhaps a little bit big. I mean, if I would do it like this, that would make absolutely no sense because that would cover up everything. I mean, you could do it like this. There are no rules, but I don't like that, to cover up too much. So let's see, what else can we do? Perhaps we can also put that in here somehow. That looks a little bit weird because there's so much coming out. And to be honest, I don't want to cover up this hole. Let's try something. Let's try it like this. We can see the hole. We can see those flowers there. So let's try that. Even if it peeks out a lot here, but let's see how we can include that to a page later so that it looks pleasing for the eye. So when we have that, we can think about some butterflies that we want to put on top here as focal points. Where to find butterflies? The easiest way would of course be to search in a book and cut some butterflies out of a book or a magazine, or you could also take some digital butterflies, print them out and then cut them out. I have done that because I have some in my Etsy shop, and I have chosen those here for the clean journal. And when you see those, you perhaps understand better why I have chosen this vellum paper here, because this goes really, really well together. You can find those linked down below this video. I have several different butterfly fuzzy cut ephemera packs in my Etsy shop where you can find different color variations. These come from this more brownish set. I have chosen those for the clean journal, and I have some in a little bit darker color, or not darker, but more browner color here for the grungy journal, because those match the ground espresso color better than the others. If you don't have a printer, or you don't have books or something else where you can cut out the butterflies, you could also use some die cuts, of course. There are also pre-cut die cut butterflies available. I'm so sorry. For example, those here, I can't tell you where you can find these because I got them in a Happy Mail. I think I have seen those locally in a Teddy shop. That's something like a Dollar Store. Do you know what I mean? I think you can find these even in shops where you won't expect them, because these are also sold for, you know, table decoration or other things that you wouldn't bring in combination with crafting. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, you could take those, or you can, of course, if you have a die cut machine, cut yourself some with some die cuts. So these are all Tim Holtz butterfly die cuts. I have chosen these for the clean journal. As you can see, they match the color palette really well. And for the grungy journal, I have just spritzed them with some Distress Oxide Spray Ground Espresso. I've just placed them to an acrylic block, spritzed some water, then added the ink spray, and then I've just let them air dry, and that way you get this really nice color variation here. They look really cool. And I now wanna add those to my pieces here. With which one shall we start? I've experienced from the German video that those are really, really great. So let's start with those. And I think this looks really cool. So let's place that there. And I'm doing that really randomly now. I'm taking one. Look how it looks and how I feel about it. And then I'm deciding if I want to have that there or not. So here, for example, I think I like this part, but I don't necessarily need like this part here, like or need or what. Do you know what I mean? So let me just cut that in half, because when I don't like the other half, I will just cut it off. And perhaps we can use one of those more straight lines that we have here from the paper to place the butterfly here. It's a little bit wonky. I don't like that so much. Perhaps we can do it like this. And now he looks really like half, doesn't he? Is that good? Is that art, or what is that? We could try to add one of those. Now it's weird. No, it's really weird. Perhaps that's not the right color or not the right size. Let's take this one. That's even more weird, isn't it? What do we think about that? Yep, I think I like that. This one is perhaps a little bit too small, but I really like the color of this one. Why not? Why not? I like that the body of the white butterfly is peeking out on the top and the bottom, so why not? So I will just place it here, and then I will also staple that. I'm trying to get this staple directly to the middle. Oh, yes, that worked. Of this one here, so that it looks like it is part of his body. So let's put that aside, because that is obviously finished. Here is really much going on, so I think we need something more solid here, like this one, for example. Oh, that looks really great. What I also really like is when a die cut is behind or on top of such a more solid and fuzzy cut image. For example, like this. Yeah, I like that. So here, do I want to use staples here as well? Why not? Perhaps you think, why not use glue? Especially with those layered pieces. I mean, just look how many layers we have here. This is relatively thick. And especially when I have so many layers on top of each other, I try to avoid glue. I try to staple or sew. Of course, I want to have this sturdy, yeah? I don't want to have this falling apart. But if I would use glue, this would get relatively stiff. This is still flexible. Can you see that? It's really, really flexible because there's no glue involved. And the other thing is, if you would use glue and you would glue everything on top of each other and you would put glue to the whole surface of the, of the back of the paper, then everything would be like flat and not so interesting anymore. Here we have all of those layers and we can play with them. We can see them, and this way you get a really nice drop shadow. Can you see that? From the light you get this natural shadow, and that is really interesting for me, and I really enjoy that. And especially if you want to put that to a thinner piece of paper later, a thinner page in your journal, you wouldn't have the problem that this gets so stiff. You have more options with a piece like that. Here it's not so much going on yet, so let's see if we can bam that up a little bit. I really like this color here. That's boring. I'm taking this because I think that matches really well. Perhaps we can combine that somehow. For example, like this. Do you also see a tuck spot here? Like this? I like that. Perhaps we can add a little bit of white here as well, since this is a piece for the clean journal. Oh, I love those moments. I will just staple that. Yeah. Do you know what? I really, really love leftovers from die cuts. This is a leftover and this is a leftover. As you can see, this is only the half of a butterfly. And I don't know what that is, but I really, really enjoy using those pieces because it's just fantastic. It's not so like normal. Do you know what I mean. I mean, if here was another of this white wing, that's, I mean, it's nice, yeah. I love those butterfly die cuts. You know that when you know my channel. But this is just so much more interesting. It's just, yeah, I don't know how to say it. I hope you can see that. I'm wondering if this is totally attached. Yeah, it is. So let's put that aside and let's go on with the grungy pieces here. Let's see. What else do we have here? I definitely want to use some of those more like ground espresso butterflies, because I think that could work really well. What about something like this? Sometimes it really helps to think what would be the most obvious thing. Yeah, let's only talk about this. What would be the most obvious thing? If you look at this, you can see that everything comes together here where the stapling is. This is something where the eye goes first, and the most obvious thing would be to put the butterfly exactly here, and that would of course work really, really well. When you have found the most obvious thing, don't glue it down, don't staple it, but think a step further and think, what would be the opposite thing of the most obvious thing? And that's perhaps not placing it here on top of this, but placing it here. And this still makes sense because, let me just, no, I can't attach it because I don't know if I want to add an additional die cut. But please imagine here would be a staple as well, and perhaps even one here. Then we would have a line of the staples here, and that would go exactly in the same line like this white paper goes, and it makes this harmonious again, even if the focal area was here in the beginning. Hopefully that makes sense in some way. What about this? Can we include that here? Ooh, that's too much. What about this? Can we perhaps, yes, we can. Can we perhaps, okay, my brain is faster than my speech is. I've just said, do the opposite thing of the obvious thing. So we have put the butterfly behind this white thing. If I now take a die cut, the most obvious thing would be to put it on top like this to create another layer. That's too busy and too for me. It's not nice. The other thing would be to place it behind here, but that's also something obvious. This would work, as you can see. That looks really nice as another layer here to add more interest. But what is the opposite thing of that? I think the opposite thing of that is to put the die cut in another angle here. For example, like this. This gives us another layer. I don't know if that is the right butterfly here, but the idea is still the same, even if I would take another one like this one here, for example, to get even more interest. And I think that's better because it's a little bit more, it's bigger and it peeks out more. What do you think? And it matches better because this color here and this color here is here as well. Yeah. So let's do the thing with the stapling to get this harmonious. One here, following this line here. And, whoo, oh my goodness. My monk is coming out like this. And like this. Yeah, now you could think, what the heck is she doing? But perhaps you can also feel what I feel here in this moment, because this is one of the moments where I think, okay, exactly this is junk journaling. So what else do we have here? I want to have more of those grungy die cuts. Here we get a really nice contrast. I really like that. I think this is just perfect as it is. And I want to think about this combination, this and this. We also have this, and there is, oh, look. This matches so perfectly. Let's take this one. Let's see if this die cut works on top here, and it works just perfectly. It mutes this orange down a little bit, because with the die cut on top you can see only a little part of the orange, but that's totally enough to make this harmonious, I would say. But I'm thinking the same thing as before. The most obvious thing would be to search for that point where the eye goes first, and that is somewhere here. So the most obvious thing would be to place the butterfly like this. That would work totally. We have some negative space here. We have this whole thing here that's pressing it down to the bottom a little bit, so that the eye knows here's the top and there's the bottom. But what would be the opposite thing? One possibility would be to turn it around like this. And I think that also would work perfectly. But what about turning it this way? Or this way? We have a really light part on the butterfly on the left. It's darker on the right. We have, let me just zoom in a little bit. We have this light area here. So if we would imagine that the light is coming from here, I mean, it's an abstract collage, yeah, this is not a real butterfly, but let's try to imagine that the light comes from here. That would mean the butterfly should be light here as well, but here is the dark part of the butterfly. So what if we take that, turn it around, because I can't change the colors here so easily, and what if we take this and put it here like so, so that the light comes from here, I mean light here, yeah, it comes from here now, and we have the light part of the butterfly on the left. And it goes into this darker part here. And when I have when I have stapled this piece here in the very beginning, I thought that this looks a tiny little bit like a butterfly wing as well, especially with this triangle that we have here on top. This is like an abstract butterfly wing for me. I'm feeling a little bit silly at the moment. So let's staple this here. Okay, so it's a little bit wonky, but I can live with that. And what about this one? I have those black butterflies, and I'm just thinking if that could work. It looks weird. That looks weird. What about What about this one? That's already too much. I think I like it exactly like it is here. Perhaps not totally to the middle, but a little bit more like this. Yeah. And I'm just realizing that I did this a little bit differently in the German video. And I quickly want to share that with you as well, while I'm thinking about adding a second one here. I mean, I have this here. In the German video, I have first placed those butterflies to those pieces, and I've not stapled them down before choosing the place in the journal. That can also help. I'm just realizing that I did it not the same in this video. I can't explain why. That's just perhaps because of my crazy brain. But it can be good to just place the butterflies where you want to have them and not glue or staple them down before you have decided for the page where you want to put that. In the other video, it happened to me that I had, for example, this not stapled, and I have put it to the page, and I thought, this direction is not so nice. I want to have it in this direction. And if you have your butterflies loose, then you can still change you can rotate them and bring them into the right position. Do you know what I mean? This way you have to attach it like this. I mean, with this piece, it would be even possible like this. I'm just realizing that that's so crazy. This video is going to become a total disaster. Let me, please ignore that. I will talk about that in a second, but otherwise it makes absolutely no sense. Look at this, for example. This has to go into the journal like this. Otherwise, if I would turn it around like this, this would look strange in my eyes. You can do that, of course. Junk journaling, no rules. Yeah, you could do it like this. The tag would be like this. The butterfly is in the wrong direction. You could do it like that. This is more pleasing for the eye, I would say. Even if the tag is now in the wrong direction and the butterfly is in the right direction. Yeah. With this one, it's perhaps a little bit more obvious. This is the right direction, and this would be totally strange. But if you would let the butterflies loose and decide I want to have the tag in this direction, you could still take the butterflies and turn them around, yeah, and put them there like this, for example. You don't have the chance anymore if when you glue or staple them down in this stage of the project. And now let's come to this one. This is totally strange. When I planned it, it was like this. And this butterfly was the focal point, even if it's hidden behind this white paper. But now please look what happens to the focal point if I turn it this way around. Now the focal point for me is the die cut, but not this one anymore. Do you see that the same? That is absolutely strange. This way, this is in the foreground. This way, the die cut is in the foreground. Even if it's in the background when you look at the layers. What the heck? Yeah. I'm really hoping that that makes sense to you. So here I think I want to do it like this. I really like that. And since I've stapled this one, I will staple this one as well. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So So next, I hope your nerves are not too killed. So next, let's find some places in the journals where we can add those elements. So I want to start with the clean journal. And I think we are going to start with this thingy that already looks like it wants to become a tuck spot somehow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How cool is that? That looks totally wonderful. And if I have such a moment where I think, okay, this is the second page, yeah, I've just flipped it around and this, I like this. I will not search for other options. I will just put it here. Of course, it can be helpful to take that and go through the other pages and look for other places. Totally boring. It would work. It's boring, yeah. And that is a proof for going with your emotions. That's really hard to explain, especially if you are a beginner. It's really hard to explain because there would be many places where this would work. I mean, look at this. This wouldn't be possible because here is the spine. I mean, will go in like this later. It's too long here. But if this was on the other page, it would work. Yeah, the colors would totally work. I mean, we have planned everything that it can be. That it will be cohesive now. Yeah, you can find many places. But if you have something like this and you think, oh my goodness, this is just perfect, I can only recommend glue it down. Yeah, just put it to that page. I will not glue this, but I will sew this because this is vellum and vellum is really hard to glue down. So I will just attach it with my sewing machine. Here we go. I love those moments. I really love those moments. Okay, so let's take this one. And I think it's very, very important that you realize that you are allowed to be proud of yourself. I got a really, really, let's call it, interesting comment below one of my German videos where someone wrote that I can't say that so good in English. I just have to look up a word. Okay, that's actually a word that I have heard very often. It's humble. The person who has written the comment said that I'm not humble enough. That was below that was I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is great, isn't it? The comment was below that video where I have shown how to get waterproof stamp impressions with distress oxide inks. If you haven't seen the video, I will link that down below for you in the description box. But it doesn't matter which video it was. The person has written, I'm not humble enough because I was happy, I was proud about the technique that I had discovered. A technique, by the way, that no one else, if I am right and if my search on YouTube was good enough, I have never seen someone else doing that before. So I guess I'm the first person who has done that. And even if I'm not the first person, yeah, if I'm proud about myself and what I have done there, and if I'm happy that I can share that with you, I mean, who says that I can't be proud and that I can't be happy? And that comment gave me some thoughts. And it's the same with this page. When I glue this down here and I'm happy and I'm proud, who says that I can't be proud? Yeah. So perhaps if you are new to junk journaling, or even if you are an expert in junk journaling, perhaps you have experienced something like that as well. Perhaps you have gotten a feedback to a project that was not so nice, or perhaps it was something that has hurt you because someone has perhaps said something rude. Please always remember that you always are allowed to be proud of yourself, because this is your project. Yeah, in this case, this is my project. And if I want to be proud of myself, then I'm allowed to be proud of myself. And this is this too matchy, or is it the right place? In this case, I want to see if I can find another page and other options. But I think... Ooh. Yeah. That's the obvious thing. Matches really well, but it is perhaps also a little bit too matchy. And this page is perhaps not so obvious, but it's way more interesting. And I think I want to glue this down so that it gets a pocket from here. Sometimes I'm really a little bit like confused, and also a little bit sad that we have to discuss or even think about sayings like that. Yeah, you are not allowed to be proud of yourself. I mean, junk journaling is so much emotion, and often things happen by coincidence. It's, yeah, like seeing something, I feel that it is good or not good. Sometimes I even can't explain what I am doing or why I do something, especially for this series that goes really into detail. It's something, yeah, really hard for me to do, because sometimes it's hard for me to explain what's going on in my mind, and not only in English, but even sometimes in German it's hard for me to explain, because it has so much to do with emotions. And yeah, of course, everything is personal taste as well, isn't it? And sometimes I'm really confused about this kind of talking about something, and especially some comments are really strange, because we want to be kind to each other, of course, that's obvious, and we want to support each other, and I think there's absolutely no reason to say strange things about a work that was done by someone else, because it's his or her work and not mine. Yeah, so why can I say something like that about another person's work? Can't understand that. But I also don't want to go into such a strange discussion here. I just want to encourage you to see your own work as what it is. Your work, your emotions, your journal, your decisions. Yeah. And if you think, I want to put this like so, and the butterfly flies like this, then please do it. I will not do it because I don't like it. But I think you know what I mean. No. How did I do this? Yes, I have planned it that it can be cut open here to use it as a pocket. So I think I want to let me check. Let me just cut this open here. Or, I mean, what is this? This is the grungy journal. I don't need scissors. I will just tear it a little bit. And then, let's take a bone folder. And just do it like this. So that we then can put something inside there. Perhaps one of these journaling cards. Like that. And since this is a tuck spot, we can also take something perhaps in this color, but this one that's a little bit more intensive, and put that behind here, for example. I really like that. I will also only glue that here on the sides so that we can still use this as a belly band. So what about this tiny little guy here? But I want to connect this triangle with this weird shape of this belly band a little bit. Yeah. So I will put some glue, not here, but only to this edge here and this edge here. And then let's glue it down here. So this is, by the way, something that I've made in the German video. I really like this, how this gets connected with each other. Really cool. So let's see, what can we do with this little guy here? Yeah. Okay, so for what I have in my mind, I think I need to put this out of the way. I just got a thought. Two thoughts. First, if you have attached such an embellishment to a tag, for example, or a journaling card, there's of course no need to glue that down completely. You could also take this as it is. Yeah, you could take this as a tag, put that into a pocket, for example, like this. This would look also really nice when the butterflies peek out here. And then you could let that loose, and when you use the journal, when it's finished later, you could take that and journal on the back. Absolutely no problem. But I really like to include those elements that are normally meant to take them out, like tags or journaling cards or other things, tickets or something. I like to include them into those pockets or tuck spots that I have in my journal. And I just thought, what if we would create the illusion that this is in here, but it isn't? And what if we glue that down and the pocket then is here? Do you know what I mean? Perhaps we could also just leave it like this. more grunge. And I like that. And now you can see we have more space here now, because the whole tag went more to the left, and then we have more space to put something in and out here. But do you know what I don't like? I will cover up this here, because when I put that in here, I will cover that up, and I don't like that. So let's see, can we perhaps, oh my goodness, tear this off? I mean, I could always print it out again, yeah, but what if we had this only once? Yeah, if this wasn't digital paper, if this would come from a paper pad that we have bought somewhere, then of course this would be totally lost. Yeah, with digital paper it's not so the problem, because you can print it out as often as you want, but you can also do it like this. I mean, who knows that we have done it like that. And now the easiest way to attach that is probably to take this and lift that up and put some glue here. We want to glue this down here as well, so that we have then the pocket here. And you can take something and put it in here. Perhaps not this one, this is too light for me in this case, but something else. So now we have this left over, what we've just torn off there, and I'm just thinking that perhaps what I originally had in mind can't work here, because I thought we can bring that back here somehow, but then this illusion that this is a tag is destroyed. But what? Oh my goodness, look at that. What if we put that in here like so? Oh my goodness, I wish I had distressed this edge here and this edge. Let me try something. What is this? Ground espresso. Let me try something. I mean, that should be possible. Don't kill the butterfly, Louise. Please don't kill the butterfly. And now the challenge is to glue this down exactly where it was before, so that the proportion of the tag stays the same, or I mean that the proportion is not important, but that those edges stay parallel. So you will now see something that you will not see so often on this channel. I will take out a ruler. Holy moly. Make a red cross in your calendar, because it will take a long time until you see that next. 7 Zentimeter ist das hier. 7 Zentimeter ist das hier. Let's see. Now I will put this glue not until the very edge of this paper, because here we have this loose as well. We have a drop shadow below this, or made by this paper, and I want to try to get that on the other side as well. I have no idea if that can work. 6,9. 6,9. I'm not 100% happy with this because I think it's a little bit too far to the right. It looks a little bit strange here, but that doesn't matter because I've learned something here. I've learned that this is a cool effect and that I can probably do something similar in another journal as well. I can take this as a reference, and it doesn't have to be perfect. This is a junk journal. This is my process, and my process isn't perfect. Yeah, a process can't be perfect, otherwise we would be a machine, or yeah, like a computer or something. But perhaps, what if we, that is glued, but perhaps, what if we take something that covers that up a little bit. Is that too much? No, I like that. Let's just, but I want to put it in the right direction. Where is the top here? So let's just place this here. This way we can also connect these things here with each other. That looks a little bit like separated. Here on the printable there's a staple and this little ribbon. So I will put this here so that this round thingy in this piece of lace connects this and this and this. And I will put the staple exactly here where it's on the printable as well. What's on the other side? Ah, that's no problem. There isn't anything yet. So this looks now like it is part of this tag, and I think now the problem is solved. I think that's it for today. I thank you very much for your patience. This was a really long video, I know, but you've asked for getting into my brain a little bit. And to be honest, that takes a while to explain. And I hope, of course, that you could get some tips and tricks from this video. If you have any questions, then please feel free to leave a comment below this video. I will try my best to answer your questions as soon as possible. I wish you a very creative time, and I hope we will see you the next time. Bye bye!